It's James Murray. We're in the Net News Ledger studio. I'm here with Ruth Westcott, and we're talking about OCAP. Ruth, what's OCAP, and what do our readers and viewers need to know?
Hi, James. Thanks for having me. I'm here today as a volunteer with OCAP, the Ontario Coalition Against Poverty. And I'm asking people to join me to help organize their Raise the Rates campaign. We have a number of demands that are mostly about three things: about raising the rates of social assistance, about stopping the unfair ODSP medical reviews, and about raising minimum wage.
There's been a lot of campaigns on the issue of minimum wage, and a lot of people seem to think that minimum wage is something that is only for like youth or students, and it's not as widespread as it is. How many people in Thunder Bay and how many people in Ontario are on minimum wage?
It's a good question. I don't know for locally what the statistics are, but I was at a conference in Toronto in April. That's this one. It was it's called the Anti-Poverty Summit. And the leader of OCAP, John Clark, was there, and he was talking about the number of people on minimum wage in Ontario has doubled since 2004. How did that happen? The only way that could happen is if they were desperate. If the rates of social assistance are so low that people are desperate to take the lowest paying jobs on offer. And so we think there are over 400,000 people non-unionized making minimum wage in Ontario. It's affecting a lot of people.
And minimum wage is not something you can really have a nice apartment, pay your bills, and eat for most people, even at a full-time rate.
Yeah, I think that in my circles that it's generally accepted it's impossible to survive on minimum wage. If it's, it's really good to talk about minimum wage when we're talking about poverty, because the rates of social assistance are even so much lower than that. If you're on ODSP, it's sort of like making under $7 an hour. And so it's not enough to pay the rent or put food on the table. And I started talking about this conference, and what was so exciting was OCAP explaining how the labor movement is in a position to embrace the struggles of people in poverty, including people with disabilities like myself and our First Nations. And if we work together as a united labor movement, I think that real change could happen. And he's encouraged everybody to join this Raise the Rates campaign, because the question is, what can we do? Mm-hmm. What can we do? I think that there's a little bit of awareness about how bad poverty is, but a lot of people I know, and I don't know a lot of people with unionized jobs, but I know a lot of poor people. Mm-hmm. And they ask me, what's the point, Ruthie? Like, what can I do? What can I do? And so I'm organizing a couple of events.
Okay, so where are the events going to be held?
Well, we're meeting at the Waverly Library on Wednesday, May 13th, which is from 3:30 to 5:30. And this is the first OCAP event. It's across the street from the Dewdrop Inn. So I hope you'll come and join me for lunch there before the event, and get as many people with disabilities and low-income folks and First Nations people to come. I'm hosting a speaker named Michael Kerr, and he is with an organization called The Color of Poverty, The Color of Change. And he has some really important research on the racialization of poverty in Canada. And then it's like he's doing a warm-up for me, because OCAP is organizing all across Ontario the week of May 18th. This is the week of action when the members of provincial parliament are in their constituencies. And so we're trying to do this Raise the Rates campaign in every community in Ontario at the same time. So in Thunder Bay on May 20th, OCAP from Toronto is going to be here. Maddie Ritz is the name of the activist who's coming up. She's going to talk to us about how to organize a delegation to make our demands for the campaign about raising the rates, increasing minimum wage to 15, and there's a whole list of them, but stopping the ODSP medical reviews until they can be done fairly is something that that I've been working on since last fall, and I'd like to talk to you about that.
Now, for our readers or viewers that don't know, what are the medical reviews? Well,
the ministry has become aware that people who were given disability temporarily, which includes most people with mental illness, like myself, have never been retested for their medical eligibility. And we agree that they need to be, we need to be. That's proper, that's appropriate. But the way the ministry's doing it could have some unintended, very, very bad results. For example, they're sending out the applications in the mail, and if you're homeless, you don't have an address, you don't get your mail, you still only get 90 days before you're cut off.
Okay.
And so far, over 500 people in Ontario have been cut off. Nothing to do with whether they're eligible medically under the legislation. This is called bureaucratic disentitlement. It's a legal term that means, denial by design. It means that you can't do the process. It could be because you don't speak English, or it could be that you don't have a doctor to do the form, like a lot of us in Northwestern Ontario. It could be that you have perceptual or cognitive impairments from a mental illness, that you don't have someone to help you to do that. I don't want to scare people. If you're on ODSP and you get a review and you can't do it, please call the legal clinic or get in touch with me on Facebook, and we will help you find someone to do it, because if you don't respond, you'll get cut off, and that's not fair. In the UK in 2011, a lot of people got cut off, unfairly cut off disability there, and thousands of people died. So it's a really important issue, and I was talking at Poverty Free Thunder Bay about it, and I met Dr. Ernie Epp, who used to be our NDP member of provincial parliament, and he explained, well, I was practicing my 1-minute speech from speaker school. I was at speaker school, and he said, Ruth, that would make a great article for the paper. So he taught me how to get that published. And then he said, you should go and talk to the poverty critic at Queen's Park. So I did. And I've been doing some more public speaking about this, but like I was telling you earlier, the kind of activism I've been doing is the kind where, white middle class people sit around writing policy papers with the legal clinics and talking to ministry, senior ministry officials. And that's really important work, but I felt the need to get involved with an organization that was doing direct action, and that's the kind of organization that OCAP, Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, is. They do peaceful civil resistance, and we're trying to get as many people as possible. I think it's an interesting time with what happened in Alberta, because the people that funded this conference, Ontario Federation of Labour, they have 54 unions. That's 1 million workers.
Okay.
There are about 1 million of us on social assistance, almost, in Ontario. And 400,000 making minimum wage, 150,000 seniors living in poverty, over 200,000 First Nations. And if we work together as an Ontario Common Front, on this Raise the Rates campaign, we could put a real dent in poverty. I hope you'll join me at my events.
Ruth, I want to thank you for coming in, for sharing this. We'll have the times and the dates of the event will be in the article and on the lower thirds, just down here on the bottom of the page as you've been watching this interview. I'm James with Net News Ledger. Thank you.
Thank you.